Fine. So in the last session, we have seen how to create the primary ledger. So the task is create primary ledger. We created primary ledger by using the task called as manage primary ledgers. After creating the primary ledger, we have to set one mandatory account for every primary ledger. Okay. So for that, what we have to do is we have to set the ledger options. Say specify ledger options. When we are going to use our primary ledger, with the help of that ledger, what is allowed, what is not allowed, there are many other points which we have to consider. Okay, which we have to consider. So those all you can manage with the ledger options. Going forward, we'll understand about those more detailed level. For now, simple point what we have to do is, after creating the primary ledger, we have to set one account called as retained earnings account. The last session we discussed what does it mean by retained earnings account. Retained earnings account is nothing but surplus account or net income account. How do you get retained earnings? Revenue minus expense will get net income. That is nothing but retained earnings account. So that is every company's object. Okay, it's all about company object. So as a mandatory in every primary ledger, we have to provide the retained earnings account, so that once you start doing the business and all, you will be able to calculate how much net income you are getting from the business operations. So for that reason, in the ledger level, we have to provide the retained earnings account. With the help of ledger options, you can do that. Okay, with the help of ledger options, you can do that. And now we'll go and see how to set the ledger options. Here it's very simple. By using manage primary ledgers task, we created primary ledger. Now we want to set ledger options. We discussed about all these columns, right? Column called as help, go to task, status, etc., etc. But we never come across with the column called as selected scope. Now we are going to see the purpose of selected scope also. I want to set the ledger options. So here we have a task called as specify ledger options. If I click on go to task icon, what system will do is, system will ask us, you want to set the ledger options for which ledger? That you have to select as a selected scope. Okay, you have to select the ledger before you go and set the ledger options. Click on go to task icon. Okay, here we have to select our primary ledger. Go to drop down values and here pick the value called as select and add. Okay, I'll repeat this. So we created primary ledger. We have seen how to create that. Now we have to set the ledger options. To set the ledger options, we have one task called as specify ledger options. Okay, go to the task within your project, specify ledger options. Then click on go to task icon. Just click on go to task icon and select value called as select and add and say apply and go to task. Just click on apply and go to task. Okay, apply and go to task. Done. Now here we have to find out our primary ledger. Search for our primary ledger. XYZ INC. Use enter key from keyboard. Okay, we could see here how we created. We given this name, right? XYZ USA primary ledger, and this is a chart of accounts instance we used, and this is accounting calendar we used. This is a currency we used, right? Now the primary ledger status is in process. Okay. Now you can say save and close. Now system will take us to this ledger related ledger options. Now we are in the ledger options. You can see specify ledger options. Specify ledger options. We are in the ledger options for this ledger. Okay. XYZ and USA primary ledger related in the ledger options we are in. This is how we given the name. After creating the primary ledger, if you want to change the primary ledger name, in ledger options you can change it. If you want to change the description, you can change it. Can we change the currency or chart of accounts and calendar? No. You can notice these all fields are freezed. These fields are protected from any updates. So once you create the primary ledger, you can change the name if you want to change. But during the primary ledger creation, what are the currency, chart of accounts and accounting calendars we are selecting, those we cannot update. Those we cannot update. This is a point we have to understand. So now we cannot change the calendar, currency, chart of accounts. Only one component you can change at any time, that is subledger accounting method. We selected standard accrual. If you want to change also, you can change. If you don't want it, you can select option as a not required. Okay, let's proceed with this. Now we are in the ledger options. Why we are here? To select the returned earnings account. For every ledger, returned earnings account is mandatory. You see here the field indicated with a star mark. That means mandatory. Okay, the field is mandatory. So you have to provide the returned earnings account. Before that, what we have to do is, okay, before that, okay, we'll discuss those points later once we come to that page. Okay, so here let me close and reopen. Now see what system did. For task called as specify ledger options, once you click on go to task, system prompted to select primary ledger name we selected. The same primary ledger now selected into selected scope. Next time if you want to go to same primary ledger for ledger options, just click on go to task. And one more point you have to notice, we selected primary ledger only for this task, specify ledger options. For which other tasks also primary ledger is required, automatically system selected. For all these tasks also system selected. That means when you are going to work on these tasks, primary ledger selection is mandatory. Where primary ledger selection is mandatory, it's selected automatically. And you selected for one task. Now if I click on go to task icon, it will take us to XYZ ANC USA primary ledger related ledger options. Okay, so just click on go to task icon. Now we are in this page. Now again it is not asking. For example, you have a multiple primary ledgers. When we can have a multiple primary ledgers, we'll discuss that point. Okay, when you talk about enterprise structure, we'll understand that point. Maybe after 2-3 sessions, we'll come across those. But for now, simple example, you have two primary ledgers. In which scenarios we can have and all we'll discuss. But take example, you have two primary ledgers. Now for the ledger called as XYZ and CUSA primary ledger, already you provided ledger options. Now again, you want to set for other ledger. If you click on go to task icon, it will take us to the same ledger. Which ledger is selected in the scope, you cannot change this. If you want to set the ledger options for other ledger, what we have to do is, we have to click on the ledger which is in the selected scope to change the ledger name. So click on ledger name. Here you can go with the value called as select and add, apply and go to task. Now you want to set the ledger options for other ledger. Say for example, this ABC is your ledger. Okay, you can select ABC ledger. Say save and close. So save and close. Done. Now see here, I'll say save and close. Now the same ledger is selected in our entire project wherever ledger is applicable. The same ledger name it is selected. Now if you want to switch, if you want to change from this ledger to another ledger, from next time onwards, if you click on go to task icon, it will take us to that ledger related ledger options only. Directly we are coming to ABC ledger. Done. Now I want to change the ledger name. So click on ledger name, select XYZ USA primary ledger, say apply and go to task. Done. So that's how you can switch from one ledger to another ledger, ideally not required in one project, in which scenarios that is applicable, that also we'll discuss very soon. Okay, done. Now we are in this page. We noticed ledger name you can change anytime. Ignore the description, that is anyway optional. Currency, chart of accounts. When you say chart of accounts, always remember chart of accounts structure instance. That's what we are referring. So currency, chart of accounts and accounting methods. Sorry, currency, chart of accounts and accounting calendar. These three components we cannot change. Only one component you can change at any point of time. That is accounting method, or you can call as subledger accounting method. Now we'll proceed to set the returned earnings account. Journal language. So select language as a English, American English. What is journal? Each and every transaction which we record in the GL, General Ledger application, those we call as journals. Those journals need to be created in which language. Okay, different languages also supported in every instance. And returned earnings account. Okay, so already we discussed here one point. So if you are going to select company, department, account, location, project, for each segment, we'll select some value. The combination of these values or combination of these codes we call as code combination. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create the code combination for the account called as returned earnings. Okay, now we have to provide the returned earnings account code combination. Click on search. We have a search icon. Just click on that search icon. So we created three segments in our chart of accounts. The same three it is displaying here. We created these three segments in our chart of accounts, but how come it is coming here? How it is coming here? Anyone please? We created these segments in our chart of accounts, not in the ledger. How come it is these three segments are coming here?
Because of COE instance?
Yeah, COA instance, the same point where I'm trying to get this point. Same chart of accounts we used in this primary ledger. That is the reason these segments are coming in this primary ledger. Okay. So chart of accounts structure instance we included within this primary ledger. We selected chart of accounts structure instance into this primary ledger. When we are using this primary ledger, whatever the segments are available in this chart of accounts structure instance, the same we can access. So if you remember, at the time of segment creation, we given maximum length, right? What is the maximum length we given for company, department, account?
34.
30.
4.
Yeah, maximum length and maximum width, two values we have. But I'm referring at the time of segment creation. Value set creation time, maximum length we given.
4.
Maximum length we given 4. Value set creation time. So that within that value set, we can enter the values up to that level only. We given length as a 4 and we were able to enter like company codes, department accounts up to 4 only. More than 4 we tried also. So there was error message and all. So during the segment creation, okay, the width we given. Yes, that is not length. That terminology they given as width. Maximum width we given 30. For company department account we given 30. Where that 30 width is displayed here. This field size. This is 30 width.
Segment field size.
Yeah, field size. Yes. If I give 10 for company, the field size will be up to here only. See the cursor. It would be up to 10.
Yes.
Yeah. So with what width you want to see the segment field, that is a meaning we have to understand from that value what we given as input. Okay. Now we want to create code combination. We want to create the code combination. So select company. So 3 companies we created. Here one more very important point is when we are going to set retained earnings account, here the retained earnings account is mandatory. Okay, so retained earnings account. This account is mandatory. Reality, company department values are not required. But what Oracle did is, since you have other 2 segments also, you should select company and department also along with the retained earnings account. But we have multiple companies. Which companies we have to select? For which companies we have to perform? We want to find out. See, end of the year, definitely we have to find out how much retained earnings. Surplus for the company 1000, company 2000, company 3000. For these 3 companies, we have to find out the profitabilities for each company, how it was performed, revenues, expense, and finally net income or surplus, or you call it as retained earnings. You have to find out. But here you can select only one company. Then what about other 2 companies? So you don't need to worry about that point. End of the year, system will verify for which companies we have a business transaction, how much revenue got generated, how much expense are spent for each and every company. Based on that, it will calculate the retained earnings accounts. It is not mandatory. You have to choose the company here to calculate the retained earnings at the end of the year. When you are closing the books, you no need to, okay, you to find out the profitability, you no need to select specific company here. Okay, totally you can ignore, but Oracle made it as a mandatory. You have to select at least one company here. Which company you have to select out of these 3? You suggest me. Which company we have to select here?
XYZ Agency Financial Services.
Okay, you can suggest like that. Nothing wrong in that. But reality, anyone you can choose. Because this is not going to have any impact anywhere. Since it is mandatory, we have to select some value you have to select. Even if
But end of the year, sir.
Yeah,
Excuse me, sir.
that point. I'm coming to that point. Even if you don't select any company here, end of the year, based on the transactions which are available for these 3 companies, you will be able to calculate the profitability. System will verify with the company 1000, what are the transactions we have, how much revenue got generated, what are the expense. Okay, the difference only you call as a surplus. It could be positive or negative. Here system is not going to check within the ledger options which company is given, which company is not given. No, there is no check. But field is mandatory, compulsory. Without providing this company value, you cannot complete this retained earnings account setup here. That is the reason. Select any one of the company. If you have a dummy value for company, the dummy value also you can select. You may create one value called as 0000 as a default company, no company. When you record some transactions, maybe you no need to select some company, it may be some adjustment, etc., some dummy transaction. Those scenarios you can use that. So when you are selecting the company here, you no need to think on the point which company you have to select, no analysis you have to conduct. You can pick any company. There is no value for the company which you are selecting here. Based on this selection, system is not going to behave anywhere. And the same is applicable for a department. Okay, since field is mandatory, you have to select the department. Otherwise, okay. So 1 second, just click on this drop down. These are the departments. So you can pick any one of the department. Okay, any company, any department you can select. No issues, but you should select account called as retained earnings account. This is the account system we look for. So end of the year, you have a transaction with 1000, 2000, 3000 company. Okay, it will identify the revenue and expense, the remaining that difference. It will hit to the account called as 1112, which is retained earnings account. It will verify how much the surplus for company 2000 that it will hit for with against the company 2000, it will hit the balances to again same account 1112. Again, it will verify what is the surplus for company 3000. and the balances will hit to the same account with the combination of which company and returned earnings account. So this is our system has a capability of calculating. We no need to set, please calculate the returned earnings account for 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. That sort of instruction or information you no need to give to the system. System has a capability. It can calculate the returned earnings account for each and every company, since we have those values within the company value set and where we assign the primary balance and segment label. So based on those properties, system has a capability of calculating. So when you are setting the returned earnings account, you no need to worry about other segments. Our focus should be on the account segment. Since these two segments are also mandatory along with account, we are providing the value. Any questions on this point, please? It's very important. You should understand.
Yeah, a couple of questions, Mr. Lakshman. In this, when you are creating company as a segment, right? But as you said, I mean, it's going to create what we call this benefits, right? What is it? Account? Return earnings. But how does the system know whether the segment is company or not? It means this is as is a label, right?
1 second. So for which segment, if I assign primary balance and segment to one segment, that segment you can call as what?
Sorry, come again.
If I assign primary balance and segment label to any one of the segment, you can start calling that segment.
Oh, okay, got it. No, that is what is the company. Okay, understood.
You can
Thank
answer.
you.
Don't mind. You can answer to this so that it would be complete information for others also.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No. If I assign primary balance and segment label to any one of the segment, I can start calling that segment as what?
It would be balancing segment value.
Balancing segment. Correct. The balancing segment.
I have a small question here.
One second. System will identify that segment as a balancing segment. Within the balancing segment, what are the values we have? For those values only, it will calculate the return earnings. Return earnings. That's it. Okay. Yeah. This is the point we have.
Can I continue?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Related to this return earnings, if any specific account, if you are mapping to this particular company and department, is there any option?
Sorry.
They can make a dependence at the time of transaction.
Don't count this company departments. Okay, don't count this company and departments here. Okay. If you want to calculate the return earnings based on company and a department, also for departments, for company, what label we assigned? Company segment.
Yeah.
Now, what label we assigned for company segment?
Primary balancing segment.
Yeah, primary balancing. If you have a requirement of finding out the profitability for our department also, okay, you can assign another label called as secondary balancing label to department, so that with the company department combination also you will be able to track the profitability.
Okay, you're talking about the reporting part, correct?
Yeah, reporting part, correct, exactly.
Now I am asking about the transaction part. Like while we are encoding a transaction, on selection of this particular account, the dependency field like company and department will load automatically if there is any requirement from the customer.
No, see,
can you map in that way?
Recording the transaction, you record as per reality. Okay.
Yes.
And
but few accounts they want to fix with this department. They don't want to use the same account for another department.
Yeah.
In that case, we can use it.
We can set rules. We can set rules in the system. So account should not be used with the so-and-so department. So-and-so account should not be used by so-and-so company. So-and-so department should not be used with so-and-so company. This is how you can set a rules, conditions. Those are separate concepts. Yes, that is possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So we have a...
Yeah, Mr. Lakshman, I have a question here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, if you assign the secondary balancing segment to the department, the journal entry also has to be balanced at the two levels, right? Primary and secondary.
Earlier we discussed, if you assign primary balance and segment label to company, system will verify the debit line and credit line company is getting balanced or not, it will verify. If you assign secondary balance and segment label to department along with the company, it will have a check for a department also. Department what we selected in the debit side, it is matching with the credit side or not. If it is not matching, transaction cannot be processed. Your company code may be okay. Debit and credit you have same company code, but since you enabled, okay, the department has a secondary balancing, you have to make sure that department value also matching in the debit and credit. Reality, as a best practices, will go with only one segment as a balancing. We'll discuss
balancing segment.
That's what we have to do, what we should not do. Even there is some flexibility. Say your car speed.
At the most, what we can do is, if operating unit is defined as one of the segments, at operating unit level, you can enable that secondary balancing.
I respect your information, but this is not the time to discuss. Operating unit means you and me only maybe knowing, and others might be, but not all. I'll try to match this point with that. Definitely. See, those are all I'm going to discuss for sure.
Lakshman, one more point here.
Please.
See, there are many fields, right? Flexi fields on the screen. I mean, some of them, I mean, most of them you are not using for this, right? Say, in case if you want to simplify this screen.
One second. Can you repeat what you are talking about? Flex fields.
Yeah, there are many flexi fields available on the screen which are not used, most of them, right?
In which screen?
Now, this current screen, the accounting calendar. I mean, the primary.
No.
The background screen.
No. One second. Those are not flex fields. Those are just fields only. Okay. Those are fields only. In our accounting flex field, we have flexible fields. By using those only, we created our structure name and we created our segments and we assigned value sets and we assigned the labels and we created chart of account structure instance. Let me go to spreadsheet. This is all we did. Okay, this is all we did with the help of flex field. And PrimaryLedger we created. Create PrimaryLedger. We didn't create PrimaryLedger by using the flex field. There is a separate page to create. Now we are setting the ledger options. Ledger options also we are not setting by using the flex field, but by using the flex field, whatever the chart of accounts we created, that we selected at the time of PrimaryLedger. Okay, these are not fields. These are ledger options page. What are the fields you see? Normal fields. These are not flex field. These are not flexible fields. Of course, reality, every field is very flexible. Easily you can enter the data. But here, the field means what you have to do is it should help us to enter data in flexible way by following certain hierarchy. We discussed about chart of accounts and all. There is certain hierarchy, right? So, structure name, under that segments, under that values, manage the value sets. This sort of hierarchy follow that is possible within the accounting key flex field.
Okay, that is the question last time I asked. That is what I was in understanding.
Okay.
So whatever fields which are called, that is what I used the identified word. Okay, anyway, now it triggers me two questions, Mr. Lakshman.
Please.
So out of these fields, okay, whether it is a normal fields also, can we simplify by disabling which are not used mostly? So that screen can be simplified?
Yes. Okay, you can do, there is a concept called as personalization. With the personalization, what you can do is, if any optional field you can make as a mandatory, any field you don't require as per your business process, you can disable it. If any tab you don't want to use, you can disable it. If any label name, if you want to change, you can change. Say for example, here we have a name as the field name as a name, but you want to display as a ledger name. This and all you can do. But reality,
Okay. And
one second. Reality, we don't do all those when you do the setups. Really, we do all those when you do the transactions. Say in the payables, you want to create invoices. Okay, invoice creation time, every time user will use it. In day-to-day activities, invoice should be created by business users. So there, if anything need to be changed, any field need to be disabled, any field you want to convert into mandatory, compulsory field, some field you don't require, that is not relevant information where you people use, and some tabs are not required, some label name, instead of invoice number, you want to change the field name, label name as a voucher number. But these all you can use the concept called as personalization. With that, you will be able to do it. But reality, when at the point of implementation, when you do the setups, however Oracle is providing the naming convention, the same is recommended to use. So if you change the name tomorrow, if you have some issues with the application, somebody is going to talk to Oracle saying that, so I'm working on this is some issue. These people will start referring this terminology where Oracle cannot understand because you changed it. So it's not at all recommended to
correct.
change something when you do the implementation or say configuration or setup. You can change something which is related to process, that is very much recommended. It will help in many ways. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. But one question again. I mean, by definition, how can you describe, how can you differentiate a flexi field versus normal field?
Yeah. So flex field here, the definition wise, see here, I'm not saying the term called as flexible. Since you got a little bit confusion here, I want to clarify. Okay. Flex field. The field which is flexible to enter the data, that is a flex field. Of course, this is also, you may think like name, primary ledger name field also a flex field. You can think like that. But how you can classify, how you can differentiate. When you talk about flex fields, you have two type of flex fields. Okay, you have two type of flex fields. One is key flex field. You can go on mute if you don't mind. Please go on mute. Other one is okay, flex field, key flex field and descriptive flex field. I'll take some example here. Sorry. You take here only, within this page, the name you can see as a mandatory field or optional field.
Mandatory, sir.
Mandatory. Description is optional. So in the same page,
Yes.
you can see many fields, but we are talking about these two fields. The name you can see as a mandatory field and description you can see as optional field. These are independent fields. Independent fields. Do you think there is some relation? There is some dependency on these two?
No, no, no. Sir.
No. You can give name XYZ INC. Description you can give ABC INC. Nobody will stop us. System also system also doesn't have any validation. These are fields. These are flexible, no doubt in that. These are just
This is used for user friendly, user understanding.
yeah. These are fields which are very much flexible, dynamic fields. You can enter the data in this.
Yes.
But when it comes to flex fields, these are not used to enter, mostly not for dynamic data. You can enter if you want to enter, but by using these flex fields, mostly will maintain predefined data. Predefined. Okay. Predefined data. By using these flex fields, we can set up the data, we can predefine, we can create and we can keep it to use multiple times and whenever you require. So here we are talking about two type of flex fields are there. Those are key flex field and a descriptive flex field. What does it mean by key flex field? With the help of key flex field, you can maintain company's key information, means mandatory information. With the help of descriptive flex field, you can maintain some optional information.
Yeah.
Okay. Already we came across with one of the key flex field called as, in key flex fields we have many key flex field. Already we discussed about one key flex field. What is the name?
Accounting key flex field.
Yeah. What is the purpose of key flex field?
To create a primary ledger, like
No, I'm sorry.
chart of accounts.
No. The key flex field purpose is, I'm not talking about accounting key flex field. I'm talking about key flex field. What is the purpose of key flex field? To maintain the key information, mandatory information. With the help of key field, take any key flex field. With the help of key flex field, we generally maintain company key information, important information or mandatory information, which is required in the business process when you are using the application. So what are the information need to be maintained as a compulsory that you can maintain by using the key flex field. So again, we have different key flex fields. One of the key flex field name is accounting key flex field. Do you think we maintained the key information or mandatory information in the accounting key flex field? Do you think like that?
Yes.
How?
They have some separate privileges for.
No, I'm sorry. That is not the expected answer. See, my point, key flex fields we can use to maintain the company key information, mandatory information, very important information. Now already we come across with this accounting key flex field. Do you think we use the accounting key flex field to maintain the company key information?
Yes.
No. If yes, how? What?
The company, how many companies do you have? How many departments do you have? How many accounts you want to use?
Exactly. That is the point. Okay. Key flex field purpose is to maintain the key information. Again, what sort of important information that can be classified with the help of which key flex field we are using? I'll say one key flex field name. Don't take this into your note. I'll say one key flex field name called as, okay, category key flex field. By seeing that name, you can understand company related categories information we are going to maintain. Which categories? God knows, forget about it. We'll see later. By seeing the name, you can understand category key flex field. Key flex field means to maintain the key, mandatory information of the company, we use it. But what key information we are going to maintain, by seeing the name, you can understand. The name says category key flex field. That means by using the category key flex field, we can maintain categories of that. I mean, now we cannot address that. It's related to separate application. But simply by seeing that within this key flex field, we can maintain all the categories information which is important for the company. Which categories and all will come to know later. This is related to separate application. Just for our understanding and to give example I'm taking. In the same way, key flex field for the purpose is to maintain the company mandatory information. So there could be a lot of information which you will classify as this is a mandatory, this is a compulsory, this is a mandatory and all. But those all you should not mess. You should not dump into one key flex field. Those we have to segregate and maintain. So for that we have many key flex fields. Many key flex fields. One of the key flex field which we are using is accounting key flex field to maintain the company key information. How we are maintaining the company key information here? With the help of, please fill it. With the help of
accounting key flex field.
No. I am asking that point only. By using accounting key flex field, we are going to maintain the company key information. The company key information is going to maintain the system with the help of accounting key flex field in the form of what? With the help of what?
Company department.
Chart of accounts.
Chart of accounts. Yeah. The company accounting related key information we are going to maintain in the system with the help of chart of accounts. With the help of chart of accounts, we are going to maintain the company key information. Okay, with the help of this accounting key flex field feature. That's it. The same descriptive flex fields we have. These we call as KFF. One of the KFF name is accounting KFF. We don't call it as accounting KFF, accounting key flex field. When you see key flex field, you can use the short name as KFF. we have many KFF. One of the KFF is accounting key flex field, like descriptive flex fields. Okay, to capture descriptive information, optional information. See, when you are recording the transaction, sometimes you may need one additional field. Sometimes you may not require those additional fields. Sometimes you may require 5 additional fields. Say user is creating the purchase invoice. Oracle is providing all the required fields, but as per their business, they want to add one more input, one more value into invoice creation. But Oracle is not providing that additional field. What you can do is, by using the descriptive flex field, you can enable the additional fields in any page, any form. For example, take this current page. Okay, take this current page. Here, I want to capture one more thing. Okay, I want to capture country also. In this page, I want to capture country also. So I can add that by using the DFF. By using the DFF concept, with the help of descriptive flex field concept, I can add additional field in this page. Really, can we add in this page? No. But in which pages we can add, where we have to do, where we should not do, we'll discuss. But since this is a page, I am taking that example. Okay. So what are the pages we are using? In those pages, if you want to capture some additional data, when it is not possible with the help of the pages which Oracle is providing, you can add additional fields into these pages with the concept called as descriptive flex fields. Okay, so key flex fields are application specific. Accounting key flex field is available in which application? Sorry?
General ledger.
GL.
Any key flex field you take as example, that can be accounting key flex field or something else, those are application specific. And when you talk about descriptive flex fields, these are not application specific, page specifics. Say you are creating the invoice, purchase invoice, you are creating the payment, okay, you are creating the sales invoice, you are creating the cash receipt. So wherever you want to capture some additional information in that page, by using the descriptive flex field, you can enable new additional fields and you can capture the data. Okay, these are page specific. Almost in all the pages, you can add additional data by enabling the descriptive flex fields, DFF, descriptive flex field. Okay, we have 2 types of flex fields, KFF and DFF. KFF to capture the key information. What sort of key information you want to capture, accordingly you have to use that key flex field. If you want to capture accounting related key information, use accounting key flex field. If you want to capture categories related information related to company, you use category key flex field. If you want to capture locations related key information, use location key flex field. So this is how different key flex fields we have will come across. As of now, what we have to understand is accounting key flex field, because without this accounting key flex field, you cannot capture the accounting related data where we can predefine. Okay, descriptive flex fields, when we go to the pages and I'll just touch that point for our understanding. Okay, so now when you say flex field, this is also fields which are flexible, no doubt in that. It's very flexible. I can enter, I can remove, but this is not flexible. This is not that much flexible. It's freezed. But before saving and all, the field was flexible. Maybe not now. But if there is some independent fields, okay, independent fields to create something and to process the transaction, those we don't call as flex fields. Okay, flex field means that should be key flex field or a descriptive flex field. Within this key flex field or descriptive flex field, there will be some sort of hierarchy. We have seen within the flex fields, one of the key flex field is accounting key flex field. Within that, we created chart of account structure instance, and we followed such a process. If these all can be done, that we call as flex field. That could be key flex field or descriptive flex field. When you say key flex field, that can be accounting key flex field or a category key flex field or something else. Okay, hope the point is clear. Anyway, this is a very important thing which we have to understand by looking at the term. Okay.
Hello, Lakshman.
Yeah.
Lakshman sir, one quick question. I think regarding the segment levels in Fusion, we have 3 segment levels: primary, secondary, and third balancing. But
No,
in
no, I'm
EBS we
sorry.
have, I
Those are
think,
not
only
levels. Those are labels.
levels. Sorry, levels.
Yeah.
So primary, secondary, and third.
I'll
Threes
touch
are
that
there.
point.
But in
Don't
EBS
mind.
we.
So what
Okay,
generally
sir.
we have to use, I covered in our classes. When you talk about the best practices when you design the chart of accounts, there I'll touch those. Whether you can use second one, third one also, or something else. How this we have in EBS, how the names they changed, what they removed, what they added, everything I'll cover. Yeah.
Yeah, because whenever we are giving to like the features towards the fusion, we are telling to the customer there here 3 level of balancing segments are there.
No, three, that's
So
wrong
how
point.
we
You are
can
telling three levels wrong point. Who told you 3 levels and all? I never discussed with you. I only discuss when you create segment as company, assign primary balance segment label and what is the purpose I explained. Remaining labels, when, how, why, I'll explain all those things. You have to wait for some time.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay, sir.
please. Thank you. Any other questions here, please? So this descriptive flexibility.
You were continuing the other part of the fields. So other than the flexi fields, you are explaining that. It's not done.
Oh yeah, no. I'll go back to that. I'm sorry, I'll go back to that. But just since we came to this point, yes, we touched this point. I'm trying to get some questions if you have anything. If no questions, I'll go back. Yes, we stop here. I'll go back there. If any questions here, please. Yeah, fine. Okay, flex field means this is what we have to understand. It's not like just fields which we see in some pages. Those we don't call as flex fields. Yes, in reality, those may be very flex or very friendly fields, but we don't count as a flex fields here. The flex field meaning is that should be key or descriptive. It could be key or descriptive. Again, there will be different types within the key and the descriptive. Again, within those types, we have seen, if you take example of accounting key flex field, we created structure. In the same way, in key flex fields or descriptive flex fields, we can create the structures and segments and values, etc. That's why kind of hierarchy would be there. Those only we call as flex fields. Okay, flex field means it could be key or descriptive. Again, in the key we have different types. In the descriptive also we have different types. Whatever you use, it could be key or descriptive. Within that we have to create the structures. That means ultimately by using the flex fields, you can maintain the predefined data by following certain hierarchy. And key flex fields are specific to application. Descriptive flex fields are specific to pages. And if you want to maintain, by creating the hierarchy, you can maintain the predefined information. Otherwise, by creating the hierarchy, you can go with the dynamic approach. You may create hierarchy, but entry would be dynamic. Whatever you want to enter, you can enter. This all will come to know, but to get clarity on this point, we are discussing. Yes, we'll go back to this point.
One quick question, Mr. Lakshman. In the other page, when you are talking about the descriptive fields, page level, is that called customization?
No. Oracle, what Oracle is providing that we don't never call as customization. What Oracle is not providing, what you are able to create, that we call as customization. This is standard functionality. Okay, key flex fields are what are the standard functionality Oracle given the flexibility to add additional fields. Again, say there is one page. In that page, you want to add 20 fields, for example, but Oracle given the flexibility up to 10 only. Adding up to 10, you never call as a customization. Adding 20 is your requirement. Oracle given the flexibility up to 10 only. Up to 10, you never call as customization. To add additional 10 more, since your requirement is 20, that you call as customization.
Okay, descriptive flexi field does not come under customization. That is what you want to say, right?
Flex field is the standard function what Oracle is providing. The purpose of descriptive flex field is to capture the additional information at page level. For that, Oracle is giving the provision. Oracle is giving the option to add how many fields you require. You can add and you can use. What are the limit Oracle is giving? Beyond that limit, if you want to use, you have to go for customization. Correct. That's not customization at all. Key flex fields is not customization. In the same way, descriptive flex fields are also not customization. This is a feature Oracle is providing. This is also feature Oracle is providing to manage the mandatory and optional data of certain levels. This is application level. This is a page level. Yeah. Now we'll proceed with this. Okay. So let's select retained earnings account code combination. When you select the retained earnings account, you no need to worry about which company, which department. Okay, fine. So in the primary ledger level, what we have to do is we have to set the retained earnings account through specify ledger options. Okay, we navigated that page and we selected, we cancel, and we'll do that. And we were talking about how come system will understand how it will calculate the retained earnings for all the companies. What are the values we have as a companies? It will calculate how. Because all we have in one value set, that value set is assigned to company. That is the reason we are calling it as. So we discussed one point. Primary balance and segment label. If you assign to company you can call as a balance and segment. That's what we discussed. Here I'll take the example. So if I assign primary balance and segment label to department, then what we have to call as a department segment. Anyone please?
Balancing segment.
Department is balance and segment. Now, what is this segment now? By seeing this, please tell me. This is a company segment. If it is a company segment, these values I should call as what?
Balancing segment values.
I'm really sorry. I should call it as a company segment, company values.
Yeah.
If it is a company, company values only. If it is
company values
segment, then these values you should call as a
company segment values.
Again wrong. If it is a company, you should call as a company segment values. If it is a balance,
yes, sir.
You have to call it as a balance and segment values, right? With what name? Naming the segment accordingly, you have to call the name values.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So if you call it as this is the company segment, you should say these are the company segment values. Because you are assigning the primary balance and segment label to company, if you call this company as a balance segment, then the values you should call as a
balancing segment values.
That's it. So balancing segment values. Which segment is balancing segment? That segment values we call as a balancing segment values. Okay, balancing segment values. In short, we call it as BSV. Okay, we call it as a BSV, balancing segment values. So always system will calculate the returned earnings for balance and segment values, BSVs. It will identify, system can understand what are the balance and segment values we have within our primary ledger. Accordingly, it will calculate the returned earnings. Okay, so this is a point. Now we'll discuss few more points and we'll proceed with the system. Okay, anyway, we didn't set ledger options, we will set it. We created primary ledger and we have to specify the ledger options. Means primarily we have to set the retained earnings account as a part of ledger options. After setting the ledger options, what we have to do is, as per our example, we took 3 companies into our chart of accounts. To run the company, what is a mandatory? If you want to start any business, what is a mandatory? You have to go for registration, right? You have to go for registration. You have to go for registration. If you want to run the business in one country, how many registrations are required? What do you think? To run the business in one country, how many registrations are required? Anyone, please.
1. Usually 1.
Usually 1 is enough. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're running one business, maybe 1 is enough. Running 10 businesses, how many registrations are required? Don't try to answer. You may try to ask the questions when I say something. Simple, very plain statement. I am doing 10 businesses. I am not giving any clues. I am running that. I am doing 10 businesses. How many registrations are required? No other information I'm giving, just simple statement, plain statement. I'm doing 10 businesses. How many registrations are required?
One registration is required.
Only one.
Okay.
Maybe it depends. Maybe it depends.
Okay. Okay. See, my statement is I'm running 10 businesses. Your question should be where you are running your businesses, in which country you are running. Maybe 10 businesses I might be running in 10 countries. 5 businesses, or else 5 businesses maybe in one country, other 5 are in different country, or else 10 maybe in one country. Okay, these points will decide how many registrations are required. If I say 10 businesses I am doing in one country, minimum one registration is enough. Or if you want to go for separate registration for each business, yes, you can go with the separate registration. That means 10 businesses, 10 registrations. Or else you may plan for each 2 businesses, you want to go for separate registration. 10 businesses, for two businesses, you want to go for separate registration. Yes, then 5 registrations. Or else for 3 companies, 3 different businesses, 1 registration, 4 different businesses, another registration. Other remaining 3 businesses, maybe different registration. In that case, 3 registrations. So this is how you can plan. But in one country, minimum 1 registration is mandatory. In any country, if you are doing the business, registration is mandatory. That means for every company, minimum you should have 1 registration. More than 1 means that's your interest and several reasons. How you want to manage, how you want to report to the government, etc. etc. So this is the point. Now say you are running the business in India and US. Definitely minimum 1 in India, minimum 1 in US. You are doing the business, only one business. You are doing the 2 businesses in India. You are doing the 2 different businesses, 2 vertical of businesses, or 2 different line of businesses. You are doing only in India. How many registrations are required? Maybe you can go with 1 registration, or else since you have 2 different businesses, you can go with the 2 registrations. I am running the 1 business. Can I go for 2 registrations?
Normally we cannot.
Normally we can.
Yeah, go, sir. That depends upon the company norms.
No, not company norms. I am doing only one business. There is no need, no norms, nothing. Okay, one
Okay.
only. 2 means then you can go with only 1 registration or 2 registrations. Here only 1 entity.
Oh,
Running 1 entity, you cannot go for 2 registrations for that. Only 1. Okay.
only one. Oh, yeah.
So this is the point we have to understand. When you are operating the business, okay, you have to register your entity. So what are the businesses you are running? What are the registrations you have? If you want to bring that information to the system, we have to create something in the application called as legal entity. Okay, you have to create legal entity in the system. So you are running the business in India. How many registrations you have? Only 1 registration. Create, then when you look at the registration, with what name we registered, what is the registration address, what is the registration number. So these and all the details you can find in the registration document. That information, if you want to maintain in the system, we have to enter the details into our system with the concept called as a legal entity. Legal entity is nothing but company registration information. Okay, so legally how many entities we have, how many organizations we have legally to report to the government. Okay, so how many registrations we have, those you can represent in the system environment as a legal entity. We are running the business in India, we have 10 businesses, then we have 10 registrations. Then how many legal entities we have to create? For each registration, 1 legal entity. For each registration, we have to create 1 legal entity. This is the point we have to understand. Now the point here is, we created a primary ledger and just we have seen how to set the ledger option. Just it's all about selecting the return earnings account. Anyway, we'll complete it, but as a point we are discussing. After setting the ledger options, what we have to do is, how many registrations? As per our primary ledger, how many companies we have?
3 companies.
How can you say as per our primary ledger 3 companies we have? We never created companies within the primary ledger.
Actually, companies Under the company segment value, there is three companies.
No,
Right?
that is not the direct point. The point is, in primary ledger we have chart of accounts. In chart of accounts we have companies.
Yeah, yes.
That's how in primary ledger we have companies, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
that's so in our primary ledger we have three companies. How we have with the help of chart of accounts. In primary ledger we have chart of accounts. In chart of accounts only we have company segment. That's how the three companies we have in our primary ledger. In our primary
Yes.
ledger we have three companies. Now you can say direct point instead of saying in our chart of accounts or under company segment or under balance segment we have three companies. Simply you can say we have three companies in the primary ledger. You can say like we have three companies in the primary ledger, or else simply you can say we have three balance segment values in the primary ledger, or you can say three BSVs. So those you can say three different entities. When you are running the when we have a three balance segment values, how many registrations we have? Accordingly, we have to create the legal entity. Okay, we have to create legal entity in the system. Legal entity is nothing but company registration information. So when you go for registration, definitely you have to provide some registration address. That may be your head office address or corporate office address. You should provide some address. So at the time of legal entity creation, system will ask us, or else say we have to maintain these details and everything are registered with own registration name and registration number, and with which address that we have a registration we have to maintain in the system. So during the legal entity creation, system will ask us, please select registration address. For that reason, what we have to do is, as a part of setups, first we have to create the legal entity in the system. Sorry, first we have to create the legal address. Okay, we have to create the legal address. Before we create, say I am going to create one address. I have a legal entity, I have a registration in India. I'll go and create one legal entity for India and I'll select the legal address. Where, in which location, in which state, which city, I have to select and I have to provide the postal code, postal address, etc. as a part of legal address. Then I have one more legal entity in other country, say in US. I should create the legal address for US by selecting which state, county, city, postal code, etc. And I have business in other country also, say UAE. Again, I have to create by following the registration, I have to create the legal address. Now here, what we are doing is, we are creating the legal address. When you are creating the legal address, we know every country has its own address style. Own address style. The US address style is totally different from India address style. India address style is totally different from some UAE address style. This is how every country has its own address styles. These all address styles we no need to maintain in the system. All the countries' address styles and the information Oracle is providing. When you create the legal address, whatever the information you require during the legal address, those information you have to enable. Without enabling the addresses information in the system, if you try to create the addresses, you cannot find what are the in specific country, what are the states we have, what are the cities we have, what are the postal codes we have, all the information you cannot find. Everything we have to enter dynamically. There will be field called as state. You have to enter, for example, if you are creating one address for US, you have to enter the state name. You should know the spelling, you have to enter. Again, if you have to enter somewhere else, same state, again you have to type everything. So instead of repeating this data entry of address related information, what Oracle is doing is, Oracle is coming up with the concept called as keeping data is available which is required as per country address type. So what we have to do is, before we go and create the addresses in the system, we have to enable the address related information in the system. Okay, so what we call as geographical data, okay, or geographies. So simply you can say enable geographies. Enable geographies is nothing but enabling country specific data. Once you just enable, it will be available. We have seen currency Oracle is providing. We just enable, and we have seen how to enable. At the time of primary ledger creation, we are able to select currency. If you go on to disable currency at the time of primary ledger, if you try to find, it won't be available in that list of values. In the field, it won't be available. So in the same way, when you create the legal entity, the legal entity belongs to which address, with which address the company is registered, that address we have to create. If you want to create address, for which country you are creating address, that country address style need to be followed. The complete address styles, and based on the country styles, what are the states, counties, cities, postal codes, or districts, whatever you call, that totally depends on country. As per the country address style, what are the information required? If you want to access at the time of legal address creation, we have to enable the geographies. We have to enable the geographies. Once you enable the geographies, all the information which Oracle is providing, that will be active and it will be available. So we have to enable the geographies, then we can create the legal address. After creating the legal address, we can create the legal entity. I'll take example here. We have our primary ledger, USA primary ledger. In this primary ledger, we have three companies. You know the meaning of we have in this means. In this, we have a chart of accounts. In that, we have a segment. In another segment, within the value set, we have these three companies. But instead of talking all those direct pointers, in our primary ledger, we have three companies: 1,000, 2,000, say 3,000. Okay, names also we know. 1,000 we given, 1,000 company code we given for consulting services, 2,000 we given for financial services, 3,000 we given for XYZ and BPO services, right? This is how we have three companies. Just make a note of this point. Okay, we have three companies. Now we have a registration. That means we'll create the legal entity. Okay, we'll create the legal entity. I'll give the legal entity name as, registration name as XYZ INC USA legal entity. Generally, this is how we write the name exactly. Company name, the company belongs to which country, what we are creating. We are creating primary ledger or legal entity, we have to write it. This we created. Now what we have to do is, as per our primary ledger, we have these three companies. For these three companies, to run these three company operations, we have only one registration. So one registration we are creating. Now what we have to do is, in the system, we have to do the mapping. We have to specify. Okay, we have to specify, or else you say we have two registrations. One, legal entity 1 and 2, legal entity 2. Okay, or else you can use the naming convention, or else you are running three companies. For three companies, you have three registrations. In that case, we'll have a naming convention like this. So XYZ USA consulting legal entity. For your consulting business, you have a separate registration. Your financial services, you have a separate registration. And for your BPO services, you have a separate registration. This is how you may have. So in reality, you are running three companies. For each company, you have a separate registration. This is how you have. Now what we have to do is, anyway, you have three companies as per your primary ledger, and to support these three companies business, you have a three separate entity registrations, three separate registrations. These we have in the chart of accounts. These where we can have within the system, we will see how to create, we will see, so that you can understand. But both are not going to be in the same place. If somebody will see this, they can read this XYZ USA consulting legal entity, and the same person can go to primary ledger. They can see, okay, 1,000 means They can read and they can understand. Okay, the person can understand. The company is consulting services. Okay, maybe yes, but this company only this registration. As a consultant or a business user, and we can understand. But how system can understand? System cannot read anything. For system, this is a plain text. It cannot read and it cannot understand. So what we have to do is which registration, under which registration we are running, which company we have to specify for system understanding purpose. That means we have to assign this company 1000 you are running, for which company 1000 you are running under which registration? You are running the business as consulting services by following which registration, that you have to specify. That means this company you have to assign to specific legal entity. Company values we can call as what? Company values you can call as what?
Company
Primary
segment
balancing value.
Company values you can call as
Balancing value.
balancing segment value.
balance and segment values. That means now what we are trying to understand, what we have to assign to legal entities.
Balancing segment.
That's it.
Balancing segment value.
We have to assign balancing segment values. Balance and segment values. We have to assign the balance and segment values to legal entities. So the 1000 balance and segment value I may assign to this first legal entity, 2000 maybe to BPO, 3000 maybe to financial services. How reality you have, accordingly how to assign. So it is not easy. It is not possible directly assigning balance and segment values to legal entities. Say you need money. If you go and ask somebody, they don't give you. If you ask your friend, you may get money because there is some relation. Friend is giving money. The unknown person may not give money if you ask. In the same way, there is some relation. In the same way, system also between these legal entities, between these balance and segment values and legal entities, first we have to establish the relation, then only you can do the mapping. Which balance and segment values belongs to which legal entity and all. So if you want to establish relation between the legal entities and the balance and segment values, first we have to identify where we have these balance and segment values. Where we have? In PrimaryLedger. Now what we have to do is, how many legal entities we have, those legal entities we have to assign to PrimaryLedger. Assign all the legal entities to your PrimaryLedger. That is the first step. Okay. The first step is assign legal entities to PrimaryLedger. Then there will be relation between PrimaryLedger and legal entities. Now legal entity may allow to associate these balance and segment values with the respective legal entities. If you don't assign these legal entities to PrimaryLedger, whatever the balance and segment values we have inside of the PrimaryLedger, those cannot be assigned to legal entity to specify the relationship. So balance and segment values we have inside of the PrimaryLedger. If legal entities are not going to have a relationship with the PrimaryLedger, how come inside of the PrimaryLedger what we have, those can have a relationship with the legal entities? Not possible. Take very general examples also. So that is the reason what we have to do is, if you want to specify which balance and segment values belongs to which legal entity, that means which balance and segment value means which company we are running under which registration. If you want to specify, if you want to set up the system, first you have to assign all the legal entities to this PrimaryLedger. Okay, the PrimaryLedger is country specific. Legal entities also country specific. So country specific and business specific also. Now we took the example as a business specific also, along with the country business specific. 3 businesses, 3 legal entities, or else only 1. So this is the point we have to understand. Okay. Now finally we'll take simple example. Only we have 1 legal entity. That is the reality. you see everywhere. So we have one legal entity called as XYZ INC USA legal entity. Now, say under this registration, we are running these three companies, three balances segment values as per system we have to call. If you want to assign these three balances segment values to this legal entity, what we have to do? First, we have to assign legal entity to primary ledger. Generally, there is no need of assigning. If you don't assign, that is next step is not possible. That is the reason we are assigning. Otherwise, not required. So this balance segment value mapping with the legal entity is important for us. That is only useful when you create the transactions. Okay, but without doing this you cannot do. That is the reason we are doing. This is the first step. Second step is now which companies we are running under this registration. Those companies we have to assign to this legal entity. Okay, company 1000 we are running with this under this registration. Company 2000 and company 3000 also. Okay, so this and all we have to do as a second step. Okay, so assign balance and segment values. Assign balance and segment values to what? Legal entity. See, it's very simple. The reality, what you have in the business, we are replicating into the system. We are recording in the system. Assign balance and segment values to legal entity. That means assign balance and segment values to legal entity. It could be legal entity or legal entities. We have to do that. If you want to do this before that, what we have to do? We have to assign legal entity to primary ledger. Why we are assigning the legal entity to primary ledger? In primary ledger only we have balance and segment values. If you want to assign the balance and segment values to legal entity is not possible directly. That is the reason legal entity we are assigning to primary ledger. Then inside of the primary ledger what we have, we can assign to legal entity. So that we can make some clarity for system understanding. These many companies we have, these many registrations we have, these which company you are running with under which registration. When you give this information to the system, once you start recording the transaction, system will take care of this transaction falls under which company. That means this transaction falls under company 2000. This information need to be reported and reports need to be generated with which title. I mean, which register legal entity. System can understand it, it can help us. If you help the system to understand, system will help in many ways. What are the purpose we are using the system? For that reason, for system understanding, we have to set this in the as a part of setups. Okay. Once you complete this, okay, you can complete our primary ledger. How to complete that we'll discuss. You don't need to discuss about now about that point. Once we complete prior tasks, we'll do that. Once you complete all this, you can complete the primary ledger. Once you complete the primary ledger, it would be ready to use. It would be ready to use. We'll see all this one by one. Okay, just as a points what we discussed. If you have any questions, please, or else no issues. Even if you don't raise your question, we will see this directly in the system environment. Then you can come up with what are the doubts and the clarifications required. We'll see first in the system, then we'll proceed. We'll discuss if any questions there. Okay. So as of now, what we did, just we created a primary ledger. Now we have to set the ledger options. We'll go and set the ledger options. Okay. We'll go and set the ledger options. Okay. So as per system, okay, we completed primary ledger creation, and after that we have to set the ledger options. Then we have to enable the geographies, and we'll create the legal address, then create the legal entity, and we have to assign the legal entity to primary ledger. We have to assign within the primary ledger what are the balance and segment values we have, those we have to assign to legal entity. Finally, you can complete the primary ledger so that your primary ledger and legal entities will be ready so that you can record the transactions. So these two are not enough. If you want to record the business transactions by just looking at the real-time business process, these two are not ready. These two are not enough. What else we have to understand? when you are going to record the business transactions, when you do the implementation, what are the key points we should look into so that we can design the solutions as per client requirement? Let's talk about it. When you do the implementation, okay, we discussed about two components. One is PrimaryLedger and the other one is LegalEntity. Along with this, what we should aware, how we have to bring the client business into system environment, we'll discuss. So working for your client. When you do the implementation, what points we have to understand? When we are bringing the data from other system to Fusion applications, how we have to classify and how we have to maintain the data in the system environment. That's a very, very important point. So here, so client is using maybe some Tally or Wings or Focus or some other XYZ softwares or small accounting packages, etc. But when they are moving into Fusion applications, as per our application, we have to classify and maintain the data so that the transaction would be smooth and the things can be managed very easily, and we can manage the security reporting. There is a lot many benefits you can see. So for that reason, if you are going to implement for any client, the total data which we are collecting, which is related to client business, need to be classified. The total data need to be classified. How do we classify? The data need to be classified as a employees data, legal data. Okay, the total data we have to classify as a employees data and legal data, business transactions data, and stock or items you can say, or else you can say warehouse. This is the primary classification for any business. This is the primary classification for any business. If you are going to implement for any client, okay, if you are going to implement for any client Fusion applications, you have to classify and you have to collect the data from business. Employees data, legal data, business transactions data, stock or item or warehouse related data. We have to maintain the system also separately. If you want to maintain any data, you take any example, any data, with the help of applications only you can maintain. You can maintain this data with the help of application, but there should be some concept to maintain this. If you want to maintain your employees' data in the system environment, we use the concept called as enterprise. With the concept called as enterprise, you can maintain the employees' data. If you want to maintain the legal data in the system environment, already discussed, we have to create legal entity. With the help of legal entity concept, you can maintain the legal data of the company. If you want to maintain the business transaction data in the system environment, we have to use the concept called as business unit. We'll discuss everything in detail level. Just I'm trying to introduce the terms on what base we have to finalize, how many required, etc. We'll discuss. And if you want to maintain the stock or item or warehouse related data, we have to have a inventory organization as per system. With the inventory organization concept, you can maintain the data. Okay. To maintain the employees' data in system environment, we have to create enterprise. With the help of enterprise concept, you can manage the employees' data. And legal data. Whatever the legal data, registration data company has, if you want to maintain within the system, what we have to create? We have to create the legal entity. With the legal entity information, you will be able to manage the company registration data and business unit. If you want to record any business transaction, with the help of business unit only you can record. What does it mean by business unit? How we can decide how many business units are required? What reality we map as a business units we'll discuss. Okay, for now simple point is, say you did some purchases. The purchases are belongs to which business unit you have to record. That means the purchases are sales or expense, or it could be some making the payments or collecting the payments. Everything you have to record with the help of business unit only. And the same way warehouse. If you are going to maintain the stock is belongs to which inventory organization you have to record. That means employees data, we have a enterprise. With the enterprise concept, you can maintain the employees data. To maintain the legal data in the system environment, we have a concept called as legal entity. To record the day-to-day business transaction in the system, we use the concept called as business unit. And to maintain the warehouse related information, we use the concept called as inventory organization. With inventory organization concept, you can maintain the stock. With the business unit concept, you can record the business transactions. With the legal entity concept, you can maintain the legal information. With the enterprise concept, you can maintain the employees information. Okay. If this data can be managed by these concepts, why we have applications? So these enterprise, legal entity, business unit, and inventory organ, these all we are using to manage this data by taking the help from the applications only. Employees data we are going to maintain with the concept called as enterprise. Okay. Employees data we are going to maintain with the concept called as enterprise. Employees data can be managed in the system environment with the concept called as enterprise. To maintain the employees data in the system environment with the help of enterprise, we have to use the applications. Those are HCM applications. By using HCM, Human Capital Management, HCM. By using HCM applications, by using the HCM applications, we can maintain the employees data with the concept called as enterprise. That means within the HCM applications only you can create the enterprise. Within this enterprise, you can maintain the employees data. That means employees data we are going to maintain by using the HCM applications. How we are going to maintain? If you go and dump all the employees data in the HCM, no use at all. It has to maintain how reality you are how you are using the resource, how you are paying the salaries, how you are running the payrolls, etc., etc. Okay. How you are using the employees. The employees may belongs to one country or multiple countries. In only one country they belongs to which department, etc., etc. They have to segregate and maintain. So to manage that, you can use the enterprise concept. Okay, again within the enterprise there is another point also we'll discuss maybe after some time. So simple point here is to maintain the employees data in our system environment, we use the concept called as enterprise. If you want to use the enterprise concept, you have to use the applications called as HCM. That means simply you can say employees data we can maintain in the system with the help of HCM applications. You can say this, or else with the concept called as enterprise, we can maintain the employees data in the HCM applications. Okay. Now, generally, simply you can say employee data we can maintain in the system environment with the help of HCM. To maintain in proper way, very classified and secured manner, we use the concept called as enterprise in the system environment. The same way legal data. Okay. So legal data. So when you talk about legal data, this is all about, it represents the ownership of the organization. Legal means how this turn into entity and with which identification and all. So the legal data means legal entity as per system. So this you can, just mapping point of view I'm talking about, we have an application called as cash management, CM. Okay, cash management. So this cash management will have a bank accounts. They will maintain the bank accounts. To specify the bank accounts or belongs to which company, we do the mapping between the legal entity to cash management. Okay. As of now, you just ignore that point. Again, I'll explain that. For now, simple point you can take. To maintain the company registration information, we use the concept called as a legal entity. Okay. and business unit. What are the day-to-day business transactions we are going to record? If you want to enter those day-to-day business transactions, those we have to enter in the system with the help of business unit. Without business unit, you cannot enter any business transaction in the system, which transactions again we will discuss. But in the system, if you are going to record the business transaction, if the business transaction related to purchasing department, you have to use the purchasing application. If the business transaction belongs to payables department, you have to use the payables application. So that means by using the specific applications only, we'll record the business transactions. But by using some application, when we are going to record the business transactions, you have to specify the business transactions belongs to which business unit. Okay, that means if you want to record any business transactions, the business transactions belongs to which department. For the department, which application you are using, within that application you have to enter the business transactions. Say you have a purchase invoice which you have to record in the system. Then you will use the application called as AP. You want to bill to the customer, we have to use account receivables. Okay, account receivables application we have to use. So you want to make the payments, we have to use the AP. You want to collect the payment, we have to use the receivables. You want to create some purchase orders, you want to place some order to customer, maybe you'll use purchasing application. Okay, so this is why we have to use the different applications. If you are using the projects, you will use the application called as project costing. You will use project billing applications. Different applications we have. We don't need to worry about it. If you are aware of our finance more than enough, going forward, we'll get introduced to other applications also. What level of information we require. Okay, the same way, like if you want to record the business transactions, as per system, we have a concept called as business unit. Within the business unit only, we can record the transactions. If you want to record the transactions within the business unit, the transaction belongs to which department, accordingly the relevant application should be available. The transactions belongs to payables department. To maintain the payables data, we have application called as AP, accounts payable. So with the help of accounts payable application only, you can record the business transactions in business unit. So here the very important point is, what does it mean by business unit? How you can take as a business unit. Say for example, just now we have a discussion, like we have these three companies. Okay, we have these three companies. So let me take from here. We have these three companies. Okay, these three companies we have in only one location. Okay, so these three companies we have in the location called as Dallas. Okay, in US, in the Dallas, we have these three companies. Now, when you record the business transaction, see, these three are in single location, but in the single location, you are doing the three different businesses. You tell me, when you are going to record the transaction, do you want to record the transactions the company wise, or since these three businesses we have in single locations, you want to record the transactions location wise? How do you prefer? Your target is very detailed reporting also. How do you prefer?
Company wise.
Company wise. Now your answer is company wise. That means for each company I have to create one business unit. That's it. Company wise, if I want to record the transactions, without business unit you cannot record the transaction. So for each company I have to create the business unit, so that company wise I will be able to record the business transaction. So I'll create the business units like this. Okay, XYZ INC Dallas Consulting Business Unit. Okay, save. Say transactions. XYZ and C. BPOs services Business unit. Now, if I have any transaction, simply like the transaction belongs to which business unit I can sell. For each business, I created one business unit. For each business, I created one business unit. Okay, you have three companies. With any company, if you want to record the transaction in these applications, business unit concept is mandatory. Without selecting business unit, by selecting company name, you cannot create the transactions. The reason why we have a business unit, you have a three companies. Directly you can select the company and you can record the transactions. Why business unit is required, right? I'll select the company. If I select this company, the meaning is this business unit only. Why again I have to replicate? Why I have to copy the same concept as business unit? Directly, why can't I record the transaction? Why can't I go to accounts payable application? Why cannot I record the purchasing transaction by selecting XYZ and say consulting? I can record. What's wrong in that? Now this company, I'm doing some activity in the accounts payable, I can record here. This is a company, I'm doing some sales activity, receivables. I collected payment from customer, I can go to accounts receivable application, I can create the cash receipt. In the consulting company, there is one activity called as placing order to customer. I can go to purchasing application, and I can create the purchase order. I can do that. Why this business unit concept? So with this company, in these applications, what are the transactions you are going to record? If you want to control the transaction process as per your real business process, business unit will help us. Okay, the business unit, with a business unit concept, you will be able to control. You will be able to control this company related activities based on your. It can be like based on your application, based on what businesses you are doing, you will be able to control. If you have a business unit, you will be able to track each and every transaction business unit level. You will be able to set certain controls. Say you have these three business units. Okay. Otherwise, we have these three companies. As per your business process, if you are making some late payments to your supplier, interest would not be calculated in case of construction business. In construction business, if you make the late payments, okay, say interest is not applicable. But when it comes to consulting, if you are making the late payments to your suppliers, you are making the payment to your suppliers and you are making the late payment. In case of consulting business, late payments, interest is applicable. You have to pay interest, but consulting not applicable. You cannot set those directly, the rules with these names level. If you create the business unit, it will give the flexibility whether we have to pay the tax or not. In case of late payments, we have to pay the interest or not. Okay, when you are making the payment, what sort of payments can be processed? So when you are making the payments for this consulting related business, when we have to pay, immediately we have to pay, after 10 days we have to pay, after 30 days we have to pay. You can set all the defaults. You can set certain rules. If you are recording the business transactions for any company with the help of business unit concept, you will be able to set certain rules, conditions, and you can define the business process, how the transactions can be created. Or else, if you take example of payables, how payable invoices can be created, how payments can be processed, what different type of invoices can be created, what are the different type of payments can be processed. All you can define as rules, or I can say you can set predefined rules. You can set predefined rules to control the business process as per the reality how you are doing the business. For that reason, we use the concept called as business unit. Okay, with the business unit concept, you can segregate and you can maintain the data with more security. If you go to create this business unit, if you record the transaction for one of the company, that data cannot be accessed by other companies. If you don't have a business unit, and if you are directly entering in the system for company 1 and 2 and 3, other companies can accept, other companies can access. But reality that is not possible. Oracle is not giving that flexibility, creating the transactions in accounts payables, account receivables, the purchasing or project costing, project billing applications. If you have a business unit, then only you can create the transactions in accounts payable, account receivable, purchasing, and many other applications. If no business unit, no transaction can be recorded in these applications. Not only these, there are many other applications also. So this is the point we have to understand. Okay. So this is the point we have to understand. So without business unit, you cannot record real business transactions in the system. Why? Why business unit is required? What are the real business you are doing as per your business? What are the policies we have to follow? What are the rules we have to follow? What are the conditions we have to set when you record the transactions, the payables, receivables, purchasing, or somewhere else? This is all you can set up with the help of business unit concept only. So this is the reason we require business unit. Okay, business unit level only we record the transaction. All the transactions what we record in specific application need to be balanced within the business unit. Okay, within the business unit, and reporting also we can do at business unit level. Okay, and the transaction you can provide the defaults. You are recording the invoice every time you need account. You can set that account at business unit level, the same accounts it will take. In every transaction you don't need to enter. That we call as default. With the help of business unit concept, lot of information you can set as a default, and many controls you can set up, many features you can enable or disable, which features need to be implemented as per client requirement, which process is applicable, which process is not applicable. Everything you can set with the help of this business unit concept only. Now we take an example. Client is doing the business in the dollars, and how many businesses they are doing? 3 businesses. And for each business we created one business unit. Now user will record the transactions and all. Now the big question here is, if you have 3 business units, what about companies? How many companies we have? How many in our chart of accounts, how many companies we have to create? That's very important point which we have to understand. So as per reality, always will decide how many business units are required for the company. The same business units you will take as a companies into chart of accounts. Okay, that is a real-time practice which we follow. Again, we'll discuss few points on that. So we never decide how many companies we have to create in our chart of accounts. Always we'll focus on the point how many business units are required. They are operating the business. Okay, when they are operating the business, how many business units are required? One point here we discussed. Based on number of companies, we will decide how many business units are required. I'll take another example. The client is doing the business, the client is doing only one single business. You take this example. Only one single business they are doing. They are into consulting. XYZ consulting. Only one business they are doing. This business they are recording in, they are just doing in 20 locations. That's all. It's very simple. The organization into consulting business. The business they have in 20 locations. Now tell me how many business units we have to create. Anyone?
20.
Why 20? Business is only one.
Each location say they want to maintain the profit and loss for each location.
Exactly. The real business takes place in 20 locations. So the business transactions will be recorded in 20 locations. Now what you have to do is, for 20 locations you have to create 20 business units. In first location, if you are going to record any transaction, that need to be controlled. There should be certain rules and the policies need to be followed in the branch. Simply the location means you can say branch. Okay, business is only one. The client has 20 outlets or 20 branches. Then you have to create 20 business units in the system. Then only the branch wise or outlet wise or location wise, what are the operations you are doing, you will be able to track very detailed level, so that easily you can analyze how much you are spending, we are spending the expense, how much revenue you are generating, what is the how much you are able to make as a profit. And in that location or in that branch, in this outlet, when it comes to payables process, what rules we have to impose and what conditions we have to make, so that by following those rules only business users will through the business. I mean, the business takes place accordingly. The information can be tracked into the system. So this is how everything can be managed. For that reason, based on the locations, we have to create the business units, or else in simple words, you can say the branches. Okay. How many branches the client has, accordingly how to create the business units. Now take simple example. Entity is only one, XYZ Consulting. Now they are going to have 20 branches. Now in the system we'll create 20 business units. Now I'll create business units like that. XYZ dollars consulting, XYZ Austin consulting business unit. Still, how many locations we have? 18 more locations. In the same way, you will write XYZ California business unit, this and that, everything we have to write. Okay. So this is the we have to write. So now what we have to do is, first we have to decide how many business units are required for company. Now, once you create 20 business units, I'm just copying for our information purpose. So think these are 20 and different. Now, if these are 20 business units, okay. So we have 11 business units. Think these names are different. Okay, we have 11 business units. Now, when you create the chart of accounts, these 11 only we have to take as a companies in the chart of accounts. Reality, these 11 are companies? No, company is only one. With that company, with the title, with that entity identification, you are operating the business in 11 locations. Nothing wrong if you treat these are 11 companies. These are part of company. As per our chart of accounts, always we take the business units as a companies into chart of account. Always when you look at that, those may not be companies always. Sometimes companies. If you take this example, your business units are exactly equal to real entities, real companies. But in this scenario, your business units are not equal to exactly your companies. Your actual company is only one. But to track each and everything detail level as per system, with this entity, how many locations you are running the business, those location based businesses only will take as a companies into chart of accounts. Okay. Your business, first you have to decide on business units. How many business units required to run the business operations based on one entity or multiple entities they have. The same you will take as a balance in segment values. Okay, your business unit should be equal to your balance in segment values. Balance segment value is nothing but company values. Okay, again we'll discuss. There are many other points which we have to add to this. For now, this is a simple point you have to take. And if you want to maintain the stock and all, the system level, okay. So we have to maintain application. I mean, we have to use the application called as inventory application.
Hi, Lakshman.
Yeah.
Lakshman, here we have thought about XYZ INC consulting in 20 locations, right?
Correct.
So can it happen that I can take the 20 locations as a segment and sort according to the locations what I want?
Yeah. Good question. You will take sort as a location. Now, my requirement is in the location 1, I don't want to calculate the interest in case of late payments. In the location 2, that need to be calculated. Can you set location level?
Yeah, location level itself.
Not where you set, just use. Location is simple value. You cannot set all the rules and conditions. That is possible only with the business unit concept. That is the reason we are setting the business unit.
Okay.
Yeah. See, as you mentioned, simply you can select the location. You can have one segment also, right?
Yeah.
When you are in the transaction, you can select the location so that it would be information for you. Company consulting, XYZ INC consulting, company, department, account, and you can have one more segment called as location. Yes, you can record. But then location is 10. which rules are applicable when you record the transaction, the payables or receivables or other applications, where you can set. Segment level, you cannot set the rules. That we can set only business unit level. Okay. You cannot set certain defaults. In payables, if I am going to record the transaction for company 5, which account system has to take? I cannot set location level. That can be set at business unit level. Okay, business unit concept will give the more flexibility to define many rules and conditions than to set the defaults based on your real business process. Okay, it will create certain platform where you can come up with your business process and the strategies and rules and conditions, etc. That's it.
I actually had a question for this itself.
Please.
As if it is something like I have only XYZ INC consulting only, not constructions and BPO.
Okay.
So then I can set according to the location as a segment, right? For just filtering out.
But see, what is the benefit you can take out of that? That is my big question.
So that is for reporting, which I actually thought of.
The current example is same. What you are talking about, I am talking about the same. Okay. I'm not counting this constructions and BPO. I'm talking about only consulting. Okay. I'm talking only consulting, but they have in 20 locations. In 20 locations, in which location, how they are doing the business. Okay. Maybe simple process or complex process, doesn't matter. If you want to record the transactions in 20 locations separately, you have to create 20 business units separately, and the 20 business units will point to this only one business. If you are doing the operations in 20 locations, you have to track each and everything, and you have to generate the reports. That's very much required. When you are processing the transaction, when you are doing the business as per the location, you have to follow certain rules with whom you are dealing, what exactly you are doing, in which scenario, what conditions are applicable and all. If you want to set all those things in the system, business unit only the option to define all those, to build all those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have a segment called as a location, you can record. No rule, nothing, just you are recording. Why you are just, what is applicable, what is not applicable, nothing you can say. You cannot calculate interest, you cannot calculate the tax, you cannot do, many things are there. You cannot do anything. In that case, you no need to go to payables, receivables and all the applications. Just within the general ledger, you can record everything. So meaningless.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, if all the locations are following the same rules and they have the same tax systems, in that case there is no need to go for business unit.
Still, for all those locations, which rules are applicable, you have to set.
Yeah. So in that case, only one business unit with multiple locations, we can create them, right?
Yes, that is possible. One business unit you can create. Since you have these many locations, you can have a location as a segment, okay, and you can manage all those things. But
reports, everything can be taken in the location wise.
But when it comes to the reporting and all, what level you want to balance the transactions? What level you are recording the transaction, that level only you have to balance, right? Branch-wise transaction need to be balanced. So for that reason, you have to create the business unit. Okay, for that reason, you have to create those as a business unit, or else you can create a business unit, only one business unit. How many locations you are doing the business in 20 locations? Create 20 balance and segment values. If you don't create 20 balance and segment values, when you are recording the transaction belongs to which business unit, which balance and segment value you cannot specify. By just simply entering the location name, no use.
But one more question, Mr. Lakshman. Yeah. If all the business units belong to only one legal entity, so in that case, this one cannot be given as a primary.
Here, there is no point of legal entity. This all can belongs to one legal entity. Each one can belongs to different. The mapping we will do. Here, what we will do is, when we go and record the transactions within the business unit concept, when you record the transaction within the business unit, So we will do the mapping. Okay, we will do the mapping for which business unit, which company. Okay, the to company is nothing but balance segment values. For balance segment values, we are doing the mapping. Right? I'll explain that. 1 second, then you can go with your questions. See, we are doing the company values, balance segment values, right? Company values we are assigning to legal entity, right? We discussed that point. Companies we have to assign to legal entity. If you want to assign companies to legal entity, first legal entity need to be assigned to PrimaryLedger. That's what we discussed. That point, ignore it, leave it. For this understanding, take this. BSV, balance segment value is nothing but companies. The companies need to be assigned to legal entity. The legal entity need to be assigned to business unit. Okay, business unit. You have 10 business units. Then definitely you should have 10. If you say, I want to have only one business unit, but since we are doing the business in 10 locations, okay, 10 locations, you will have BSV segment values. Okay, this is the case. So you will have one business unit and you have a 10 balance segment values. Why you have 10 balance segment values? You are running the business in 10 locations that you want to have as one BU. So here what we have to do is, with one BU, you can record the transactions for 10 balance segment value. But you have to go to the BU for every time when you record the transactions, you have to change the transactions belongs to balance segment value 1. You have to record, you have to select and you have to. Then when you are recording the transactions for balance segment value 2, you have to change to 2 and you have to enter. If it is 3, you have to see. Business unit is the concept which will allow you to record the transactions. If there is no business unit, you cannot record the transactions, the payables, receivables application. That is the reason you created a 1. And you have a just 10 balance segment values since we have a 10 locations business. So you have to every time change and you have to enter. It will create a lot of issues. The user may forget to change the company. When you talk about business unit, only one balance and segment value you can give to one business unit. Okay, for this you can give only for one business unit, you can map only one BSV. You can map with only one BSV. Now, when you record the transactions with this business unit, you provided one balance and segment value that only system will take. But you want to record the transaction for a different balance segment value. Within this business unit, when you are recording the transaction, every time manually you have to change the balance and segment values. So sometimes if user will forget to change, it will create issues. That is the reason. So what we have to do is, how many locations you are doing the business, accordingly you will take the balance and segment values. Before you take the balance and segment values, how many locations you are doing the business, accordingly you create your business units. Your count, the number of business units should be equal to number of balance and segment values. For each business unit, you will be mapping one balance and segment value. Then when you are going to record the transactions, everything will go smooth. By reducing the number of business units, you don't get any advantage, only you will get disadvantage. That's it. It won't cost more for us. Okay, it's just matter of defining, and in the many ways, the business can take the advantage of that business unit concept if you are going to create by segregating and separately. Yeah. So this is the point we have to understand. Any questions here, please?
Yeah, one question, Mr. Lakshman, if you permit me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you're posting the transaction, I mean, so far we are talking about the coding from the codes from the COA, right? I mean, a chart of accounts.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Now, with this introduction of a business unit, do we also need to consider this code along with those codes from the BSV?
Yeah, definitely. See,
it means the system permits us to have this code in the transaction.
no. See here, what we'll do is when you create the business unit, we assign primary ledger also. The primary ledger also we have to assign to business unit. Okay. By using the primary ledger, we will record the transactions in the business unit. In primary ledger only we have balance and segment values.
Correct.
Then by using the business unit, say if you are going to record the transaction, the payables, and you spend some expense and you are creating the purchase invoice for expenses, then system will use the code combination. The expenses belongs to which company, which department, exactly which expense, travel expense or admin expense or stationery expense. Code combination we use everywhere. Wherever we record the transactions, we use the code combination.
Code combination along with this business units. Exactly. It means whatever is combination of primary ledger.
In specific business unit, if we are going to record the transaction, system will take the code combination which should be belongs to that business unit. For every business unit, we will set one balance segment value. Okay. With that balance and segment value only, system will create the code combination. That's it.
Mr. Lakshman,
yeah.
Is it possible to have a scenario where you will have only one balancing segment value and you can have 10 business units?
I'll ask the question, what you want to do with that?
No, my balancing segment is only one. Only at the company level, I want to have the balancing segment. But I have different rules in different locations. So I will have 10 business units in different locations, different states. Take for example, India.
No, if your balancing segment value is only one,
yeah,
you no need to assign more than one business unit. And
no, but still I have to have, because I have 10 business units in different states of India. Assume that. So different states have a different tax systems.
Got it. I
need to configure different taxes.
I got it. When we have multiple business units, if you want to take the advantage of those multiple business units, you should have multiple balance and segment values. With one balance and segment value, you should use for only one business unit. That's it.
In that case, it will also create some reporting issues, right?
No. See,
if I want to get
one second. I will create the transaction of the payables with the balance and segment value 1000. Okay, yeah. 1000. Say the same balance and segment value 1000 you are using for 5 business units. Okay.
Yeah.
5 business units you are using. The business unit 1 you are entering with 1000. Business unit 2 you are entering with 1000. Business unit 3 you are entering 1000. If you go to business unit 1, since your business unit is different, even it is 1000 or 2000 doesn't matter, you will be able to find the reporting. The business unit 1, what business you did, how much expense and payments, etc. Okay. Business unit is different. Now,
no, I'm talking about the
one second.
Okay.
From 5 business units, I'll send the data to one place. Take example, general ledger application. From 5 business units data, I'll send to general ledger application. When data will goes to general ledger application, data will be reported to general ledger with the help of balance and segment value only.
Correct.
Now, I want to find out business unit 2 related data in general ledger application. How do you find?
Yeah, we can select the code combination, right?
Nothing. Only balance and segment matter.
Yes.
Balance and segment
that is correct.
Is different. Yes, 2000 means BU balance business unit 1 or 2. You can identify. Now everything is going with 1000 only. You cannot classify. Big
No,
mess.
if I want to,
Big mess. That is the reason. How many business units you want to have? Those many balance and segment values you have to maintain to track in any application level. That's it.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. You in different
Now,
scenarios.
one more.
One second. You can have only one business unit, maybe 10 balance and segment values, but still you will have a challenges, but system will support for that. But that is not recommended solution. People are already using. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One
See,
second.
I mean,
1 second. We done for today. We done for today. If you have any questions, you can stay back, or else you can drop from the meeting. Yeah. Now you can go ahead with your questions.
yeah, I mean, when you're talking about the primary ledger, Mr. Lakshman, the hierarchy is, I mean, once the legal entity is created, under the legal entity, we have the business units, right?
1 second. The hierarchy and all, I'll explain in tomorrow's session. Today, just I given some plain data. That's it.
Oh, okay. My question is related to this.
I'm not talking about hierarchy. What should be on top? Okay, if I talk about hierarchy, again I have to include the primary ledger also here. Okay, primary ledger as per system, as per business. Okay, in the tomorrow session you will see what you are expecting.
Okay, fine. But my question is, once the primary ledger is associated with or I mean attached to the legal entity, all the business units come under legal entity, right? Attached to the legal entity. So automatically the primary ledger will not come to business units automatically, or explicitly we need to attach.
1 second. Here you are using the terms like legal entity and the business unit and what? Primary ledger.
Primary ledger, yeah.
Primary ledger. Yeah, these are three terms we are using. Now, what is your question?
Once the primary ledger is attached to the legal entity.
Primary ledger we never attach to legal entity. Legal entity will assign.
Okay. Once the legal entity is attached to the primary ledger and business units come under legal entity.
1 second. Legal entity will assign to primary ledger.
No, business units come under legal entity, right? When you create the business unity, don't you need to select the legal entity? Where, I mean, it should be?
See, here we'll create the
business units.
One business unit.
Yeah.
Oh, 1 second. We'll take this. Yeah, this is the case. Legal entity we are assigning to primary ledger. Now we have business units. Yeah, what you want to understand?
All these business units, where do you create under the legal entity or directly under the primary ledger? Legal entity, I suppose.
See, where you are operating this business in these two locations or two branches, right? One business unit, two means let's take these are two branches. Branches operating under which registration? So these business
legal entity
always comes under legal entity. Correct. Legal entity comes under primary ledger.
Correct. So it means automatically these business units are also attached to the primary ledger.
Exactly.
Automatically by the system.
Automatically, not directly. Also, we do that activity. When you create the business unit, we have to assign the primary ledger. In the primary ledger, you may have n number of legal entities, right?
Yes.
Say you created primary ledger for US. In US, you have 4 registrations, but you are running one business unit, one branch you are running. The branch you are running for which business purpose? Accordingly, you have to associate legal entity. Primary ledger may be 1, legal entity may be 4, but the branch you are running under which registration, which legal entity, that also you have to assign.
Oh, explicitly we need to attach everything.
Yeah, exactly. You have to do that.
Mr. Lakshman.
And please go ahead.
I mean, my question is on the same topic here. That's why I had to stop. Okay. Yeah. I'll just ask, it's related to the same topic. So is it possible that we don't create, I mean, we have we have primary ledger and business unit, but I don't have a legal entity. Is it possible?
So you don't have legal entity. Legal entity is a mandatory when you create the transactions in payables, receivables, and other applications. If you want to record the transactions only in the general ledger, primary ledger is enough. Legal entity, business unit also not required. Legal entity also not required. The legal entity and business units concepts are required when you record the transactions other than general ledger. Other than general ledger means those are the actual applications where you record the real business transactions.
Because in my setups, when I see, we have legal entity for UK, but not for US, but we have primary ledgers for US and UK.
No,
and the same thing.
You
Business
might be
units are
talking
also there.
about ledger level setups. That ledger, what you might be using maybe for internal reporting or etc. etc. If you are using ledger, any ledger in payables, receivables, and other applications, legal entity association is mandatory. Otherwise, there is no meaning in that.
Okay, maybe tomorrow when you show the setups, probably I can.
You can. On that point, you can understand. Still, any questions also we'll discuss.
Okay.
Tomorrow session, what I'm discussing today, we'll come across all those things. Legal integration, etc. We'll see in the system.
So Lakshman, are you starting at 7 o'clock morning?
Same time.
Yeah, Mr. Lakshman, one question regarding the classes. Yeah, I mean, see, this is not, I mean, something we understand clearly the issues you are going through it. But only our concern is we are losing time, Mr. Lakshman, because I mean we have some targets to set up, and we got to meet them.
As I promised,
so that is it. Like we are worrying late. Yeah, please.
As I promised, I'll complete as per schedule. Please trust me on that. I'll complete. Because see, if I am creating these issues, yes, I should.
Then the instance you gave also, I'm not able to. It's loading for 15 minutes.
That is, I mean, we are not able to do the practice. Also, we are losing time. And one more thing is, Ms. Lakshman, it's not like it is not going to end at this thing. The consequences are, I mean, we may lose the business opportunities because of, I mean, some targets are set up. So please consider whatever is the best possible.
Sure. I spoke to one of my client and I requested. So there is no update. Otherwise, we might have started using that my client instance. Without permission, I should not use. That is the reason I'm not touching. Just I write some request to get some concerned person. Yeah. Hope just
Lakshman on the instance part.
Uninterrupted classes we can have. Yep.
Lakshman, this is on the instance part.